I'll wake up before the heat does. Even in late October, Texas mornings have a way of faking coolness. The window lets in a bit of pre-dawn breeze, and for a moment I can pretend the air's still mine, before the noise of the house returns and the walls start breathing someone else's rhythm. The coffee maker is the last thing that's still truly mine. 1983 Mr. Coffee, chipped glass carafe, and a temperamental hot plate that gives off a faint scorched smell if I forget to unplug it. I don't mind. I like the way it sounds. Each drip like a tick in a slow countdown. The kitchen clock says 6:11. That damn thing always runs 2 minutes fast, but every time I try to fix it, someone changes it back. You know it's supposed to match the stove, Rachel told me once, as if ovens made better timekeepers than human bodies. She's not up yet. Neither is Travis. They sleep in the upstairs master bedroom. Used to be mine and Helen's before the stroke took her right side and cancer finished the rest. That was 4 years ago, which feels like both a blink and a century. We buried her with roses and all the mortgage papers I could find. A month later, Travis made the offer. Why don't you just move in with us, Dad? You shouldn't be alone in that house. What he meant was, we've already cleaned it out and listed it. And I, like the lonely, tired old man they assumed me to be, said yes. They made space in the guest room downstairs. At first, Rachel was nice about it. She made gluten-free banana bread, bought a new towel set, even let me hang one photo of Helen on the dresser. Then came the conditions. Dad, could you not leave your shoes near the stairs? Try not to run the water past 9 p.m. It affects the pressure upstairs. Maybe we should set some expectations about grocery costs. Travis played the good cop. He'd pat my shoulder and chuckle. Don't mind her. She's just trying to keep things organized. I never knew organization had a price tag. By the end of that first year, I was helping out with $1,000 a month. Then $1,500. Last January, they asked for $2,000, saying it was fair rent considering the square footage. Square footage I once paid to install tile in. Rachel had the nerve to show me the Zestimate on her phone, like I'd never seen the bones of this house before drywall. But I paid, like always, like I did when Travis asked for $40,000 for his first business which folded, or when he needed help just until the refinance closes, and I sent him $12,800 for my pension. No contract, of course, just family. In March, they asked me to sign a few documents to simplify the refinancing. You're still technically the co-owner, Travis said, not meeting my eyes. I remember the pen in my hand, the ink heavy and final. My name slid across paper like A. Shadow. It's just paperwork, he said. It's always just paperwork until the locks change. I sipped the first cup of coffee. Burnt, bitter, and honest. Upstairs, I hear muffled footsteps. The house is waking up to the rhythm of a family I'm no longer truly part of. I'm the old fixture now, the grandfather clock they don't wind anymore, but camping themselves to throw out. Morning, Rachel says as she walks into the kitchen. No eye contact. Pajamas with little lemon slices. She opens the fridge and frowns. Did you eat the leftover salmon? No. She gives me a tight smile. Just wondering where it went. Probably tossed it herself and forgot, but saying that would start something. She pours almond milk into her cereal. No coffee. She thinks mine is too strong. I need to go over utilities with you sometime this week, she says without looking up. Electricity was through the roof last month. I nod. I always nod. She's halfway up the stairs when I say, Travis up yet? Still in bed. He had a long night. That usually means poker or bourbon or both. Travis works at some startup now. I don't understand what they do, digital onboarding solutions, whatever that means. But I know it doesn't pay well. Rachel's a CPA. She's the one with the spreadsheets. And the sharp tongue. By 8:00. The house smells like dry shampoo and reheated eggs. They leave around 8:20, kids in the back seat. Lunchboxes packed like they're off to war. I wave. No one waves back. When the door slams shut, the house exhales. Just me and the clock again. I refill my cup, walk to the dining room, and sit by the window. There's an envelope on the sideboard. Pale blue, hand addressed. I almost don't notice it, but the handwriting is off, slanted, precise. I open it. Inside is a listing from Century Homes. My house. This house. Photos taken last week. Gleaming countertops, staged furniture. Lighting soft enough to sell nostalgia. For sale. $648,000. I flip it over. Scribbled in Travis's chicken scratch. Dad, we'll talk tonight. Just wanted you to see it first. I don't finish my coffee. I just sit there, the sun cutting sharp lines across the tile, the smell of lemon cereal still in the air. And I realize they're selling the house. They're selling my house. And they didn't even bother to lie about it first. That afternoon, I drove to the library like I always do on Thursdays. Not for books. I've read the same 6 Clancy novels in rotation for years. But for the silence, for the smell of old carpet and the soft rattle of the microfilm reader. The kind of place where no one rushes you, where time folds in on itself and nobody asks what year you're living in. But this time, I wasn't there for Cold War spy fiction. I was there for answers. I sat down at the public computer, logged in with the same laminated card I've had since 1997, and opened my email, my real one, not the account Rachel set up for me on their family server. My old Yahoo inbox, the one tied to the mortgage, the one they assumed I'd forgotten. 3 minutes in, I found what I was looking for. A message dated March 9th from Evergreen Title and Escrow. Subject line: your signature documents are ready for review. There were PDFs attached, all with little yellow DocuSign tags and my name beneath signatures that didn't quite look like mine. I've signed my name tens of thousands of times in 74 years. I know the bend of my R, the tightness of the loop on the T. These were approximations, tracings maybe, someone trying to copy an old man's hand through a fog of assumption and entitlement. I printed everything, 36 pages. Took almost my whole library allotment for the day. The printer jammed twice. The young girl at the desk gave me a look like I was trying to fax something to Pluto. I didn't care. I walked out with the papers folded neatly in a manila envelope, my hand gripping them like a rope thrown to a drowning man. Back home, I made tea, not coffee. I needed a clear head. I turned off the ceiling fan and sat down with the pages spread across the dining table. Helen used to hate clutter on this table. We only used it for holidays for roast chicken and sweet potatoes and the heavy blue plates she insisted we keep for company. Company was long gone now. Page 5 was the first red flag. A transfer of deed of trust, notarized March 11th. My printed name, signature, date, all there. But the notary box was blank. Page 9 confirmed it. I was listed as having willingly relinquished my claim to the property in exchange for ongoing housing and care valued at $0. Zero. No compensation. No protection. No clause for reversion. Just a clean handover. Page 14 listed Travis as sole owner. Page 23 showed an email thread between Rachel and the realtor. Thanks, Janet. Listing looks great. We're hoping to close by November. Please keep this discreet for now. Our cohabitant is elderly and doesn't handle change well. Our cohabitant, not father, not dad. Cohabitant, like I was a tenant, a squatter. I stared at that word until the letters blurred. I don't know how long I sat there, but when I blinked again, the tea was cold and the clock read 6:43. They'd be home soon. I gathered the documents and slipped them under the floorboard in my bedroom closet. The second plank from the wall, loose since 1991. I'd kept a few things there over the years. Helen's letters, my father's watch, one silver coin from 1965 that I'd always meant to give to Travis when he was old enough to value it. That day never came. At dinner, Rachel reheated something beige. Chicken, maybe. Travis didn't speak. The kids argued over screen time, their voices bouncing off the tile and into my temples. I kept my face blank and my fork moving. "So," Rachel said finally, folding her napkin with surgical precision, "I guess you saw the flyer." I nodded. "We wanted to talk to you before things moved further," Travis added, as if putting the cart after the horse somehow excused selling it out from under me. I said nothing. We think it's time to downsize," Rachel continued, adjusting her tone like a news anchor on a sad segment. "The market's strong. It's a good opportunity. You'd still live with us, of course, just in a more manageable space." "You mean an apartment?" I said quietly. She smiled like I'd gotten the correct answer on a quiz. "A nice one. 2-bedroom. Ground floor. In that senior community near the freeway. It has bingo nights and a shuttle bus." "And I pay rent there too?" I asked. Rachel's fork paused. She didn't like when I made her say the quiet part out loud. "Well," she said, "you've always been generous. And obviously since you've been living here rent-free. I pay you $2,000 a month." Her mouth opened, closed. Travis cleared his throat. "Dad, come on. Let's not turn this into a thing." "What thing is that?" I said. "The part where I find out my house is for sale through a flyer? Or the part where my name was forged on a legal transfer document?" Silence. Rachel's eyes narrowed just slightly. Her face twitched in that way it does when the tax software crashes. "I saw the paperwork," I said, setting down my fork. "And I made copies." Travis looked like he'd swallowed a bag of thumbtacks. Rachel recovered first. "It's done, Martin. The deed is transferred. You signed it. It's all legal." "I didn't sign it," I said flatly. "And unless you've perfected identity theft, I'm still of sound mind, capable of testifying, and in full possession of the floorboard where I hid every page." She stood, pushed her chair in slowly. "I think we're done here." I stood too. "Not quite," I said. "We'll be done when the title company, the county recorder, and my lawyer say we're done." Travis paled. "What lawyer?" I smiled. The first real smile I'd felt in months. "You remember Jerry Lichtman?" I said. "Still plays racquetball every Thursday. And still practices estate law. Says your notary's license expired in 2020. Rachel's hand went to her temple. The first crack in the porcelain. "I'm going to bed," I said. "Thanks for dinner." And I walked out, left my half-eaten plate and their stunned faces behind. In the hallway, I passed the thermostat and turned it down 2 degrees. Let them feel a little chill. Let them get used to the cold. The next morning, the house was quieter than a confession booth. Rachel didn't come downstairs until almost 9. No greeting, no small talk. Just the sound of her heels on tile and the smell of perfume. Something expensive, citrus, and cold. The kind of scent that tries too hard to erase guilt. She stood by the counter, scrolling her phone. "Travis said you're consulting a lawyer." Her voice had a rehearsed calm, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. I didn't look up from my newspaper. "I am." A beat of silence. The refrigerator hummed. "Is that really necessary?" "Apparently so." She exhaled sharply, tossed her phone onto the counter, and said the thing I'd been waiting for. "You're overreacting." I folded the paper carefully, aligning each edge like I used to when balancing the books for the power plant. "Forgery isn't something you react to gently, Rachel. It's not an allergic rash." The front door opened upstairs, Travis coming down, half-shaven, tie crooked. He looked like a man who hadn't slept, which gave me some small, wicked comfort. "Dad," he started, "we all got a little heated last night." "You forged my name on a deed," I said evenly. "I'd call that more than a little heat." He ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't forge anything. It was DocuSign. Maybe a clerical error." "Ah," I said, "$1 million clerical error." He flinched just slightly. The truth always finds a soft spot. Rachel crossed her arms. "You know what this is really about? You're lonely. You've been lonely since Helen died. And instead of talking about it, you're lashing out. I let that hang there, heavy and bitter. Then I said, when Helen died, I buried a woman, not my self-respect. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. The children were unusually quiet, picking at their food, while Rachel filled the silence with weather updates and fake laughter. Travis poured himself 2 fingers of whiskey before sitting down. His hand shook just enough to make the ice clink against the glass. I'd cooked spaghetti, nothing fancy, just the kind of food Helen used to call honest dinner. Garlic bread, Jared sauce, the works. Rachel didn't thank me. She just asked, "Is there gluten in this?" I stared at her a moment, then smiled. "Only where the wheat is." Travis tried to smooth it over. "Dad, listen, I talked to the realtor today. We're not finalizing anything yet." "Yet," I said, repeating the word like it was a song lyric I couldn't forget. "Right, we're reevaluating." Rachel's fork clinked against her plate. "Travis," he looked at her, then at me. "We thought maybe you'd move into one of those retirement communities after the sale. They have a pool. Bingo nights." "You think I need bingo?" I said. Rachel gave a small, brittle laugh. "We think you need care and predictability. You're not young anymore, Martin. Houses are a responsibility." "You mean assets?" I corrected. She shrugged. "Call it what you want. You've lived a good life. Don't you want to rest?" "Rest," I repeated, nodding. "That's a nice word. That's what you tell someone right before you bury them." The kids looked up, startled. Travis shot me a warning glance. Rachel's lips pressed into a thin, furious line. "I'm not dying," I said, my voice sharper now, cutting through the fake warmth. "And I'm not surrendering what's mine because you too can't live within your means." "Dad," Travis began, but I held up a hand. "No, listen. I gave you everything I could. 40,000 for that first company. 12 for the bridge loan that was never repaid. Every month since I moved in, I've paid $2,000. I could have bought this house twice over." Rachel's chair scraped against the tile. "You're keeping tabs now? That's ugly, Martin." "Ugly is selling a man's home while he's still breathing," I said. She opened her mouth, but I kept going. I'd been quiet for too long, and the words were spilling out like gas under pressure. "When Helen and I bought this place, the down payment was $78,000. I worked 37 years at the power plant for that. Nights, weekends, Christmas shifts. I came home smelling like metal and heat, and your husband here," I pointed at Travis, whose face had gone pale, "was 6 years old, asking when Daddy would be home for dinner. I did all that, so one day you'd have something steady, something decent." My voice softened for a moment, and instead of being proud, you decided it was easier to steal. Travis pushed back his chair. "That's enough." "No," I said. "It isn't." He stood, breathing hard. "You think I wanted to do this? You think I'm the bad guy here? You were drowning in that old house after Mom died. You couldn't even fix a leak without calling me. I was trying to help you. By erasing me? By keeping you safe," he snapped. "You don't understand how hard it is for us. The mortgage, the kids, everything costs a fortune. You think money just appears." I looked him dead in the eye. "I think it disappears pretty fast when someone else is paying for it." Rachel stood, her voice rising. "This is exactly why we didn't tell you. You're impossible to reason with." The kids froze. One of them whispered, "Mom," but she ignored it. "You're manipulative, you twist everything, and you—" Enough. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. The tone carried all the authority of a man who's held wrenches heavier than their excuses. Rachel stopped mid-word. "I'm done explaining myself in my own house," I said. "You've both made your choices. I'll make mine." Travis frowned. "What the hell does that mean?" I stood, slowly, feeling every bone in my knees protest. "It means I'm not going quietly." I turned to Rachel. "You said I should rest." "Well, I'll rest when I've cleared your names off the deed and put them where they belong, behind bars if need be." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I walked away from the table, the weight of their silence following me down the hall. When I reached my room, I closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding, not from anger, but from something pure, something clean, not fear, not even rage, resolve. For the first time in years, I wasn't the cohabitant. I was the owner, and I planned to act like it. The next morning, I woke up at 5:45, before the house began its usual routine of slamming doors and hurried footsteps. It was still dark outside, that gray hour when the world looks undecided. Too late to be night, too early to be morning. I dressed quietly, poured myself a cup of yesterday's coffee, and stepped outside. The air smelled of damp earth and distant lawn sprinklers. There was a small satisfaction in leaving without them knowing. By 6:30, I was parked in front of Jerry Lichtman's law office, a narrow brick building wedged between a vape shop and a shuttered bakery. The same office where I'd signed my first will 20 years ago. The paint on the door had faded, but the brass nameplate still gleamed. Jerome Lichtman, attorney at law, estates, trusts, property disputes. Jerry arrived at 6:55 sharp, carrying a styrofoam cup and a briefcase that looked older than both of us. He squinted when he saw me waiting. "Martin," he said, smiling. "Jesus, you look like you haven't slept since Carter was in office." "Close enough," I said. He fumbled with the keys, let me in, and turned on the lights. The place smelled like dust, ink, and lemon cleaner. His secretary, Nancy, wouldn't be in for another hour, so we had the place to ourselves. I laid the documents on his desk, the forged deed, the emails, the listing flyer. He put on his glasses and began reading, murmuring under his breath the way lawyers do when they've already started building their case before you finish explaining. When he was done, he set the papers down and looked at me. "Well," he said, "they really went for it, didn't they?" "They did." He tapped the edge of the paper. "This isn't a mistake, Martin. This is fraud, and I can prove it." I felt something move in my chest, something like hope, something like fury finding direction. "What can we do?" I asked. "First thing," he said, flipping open a legal pad, "we contact the county recorder and file a lease pendens, a notice of pending litigation. That freezes any sale attempts. They can't close a deal without your consent once that's filed. Second, we notify the title company, Evergreen, right, that their notary acted without a current license. Third, we prepare a formal civil complaint for fraudulent conveyance." He scribbled notes faster than I could follow. "How soon do you want to move on this?" "Yesterday," I said. He smiled. "That's the Martin I remember." By noon, the papers were drafted. I signed each one carefully, my real signature this time. Their leaning left, the T cutting clean through the line. Jerry faxed the notice to the county clerk himself, then handed me a copy stamped received, October 21st, 2024. "There," he said, leaning back. "The sale is dead until a judge says otherwise." I didn't realize how tightly I'd been gripping my hat until I set it down and saw my knuckles white. "Jerry," I said quietly, "I don't want revenge. I just want what's mine." He studied me for a moment. "You'll get it. But between you and me, there's no shame in enjoying the look on their faces when the letter arrives." When I got home that afternoon, the house looked the same, but something in the air had shifted. Maybe it was me. Rachel was on the phone in the kitchen, speaking in that clipped, polite tone she used for clients. She stopped when she saw the envelope in my hand, certified mail, bright red stamp, reading lease pendens, court notice enclosed. "What's that?" she asked. I placed it on the counter between us. "You'll find out soon enough." Her eyes flicked to the label, then back to me. "Martin, what have you done?" "Leveled the playing field." She laughed once, high-pitched and humorless. "Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused?" The realtor's furious. The buyers were ready to make an offer. "Then they can make it to me," I said. She went pale. "You're bluffing." "No," I said. "You are. And you've run out of cards." Travis came in halfway through, tie loosened, face flushed from the October heat. "What's going on?" Rachel thrust the envelope at him. "Your father's suing us." Travis ripped it open, scanned the letter, and went silent. "What the hell is this, Dad?" "It's called due process," I said. "You should try it sometime." He slammed the counter. "You're ruining everything." "Everything," I said, "being the house I paid for, the mortgage I cleared, and the life you tried to erase." "You don't understand," he said, pacing now. "We were in over our heads. The credit cards, the car, the bourbon." I interrupted. "Don't forget the bourbon." He froze. I'd seen the receipts. $1,200 in gifts from a liquor store in Dallas. Rachel's work retreats that showed up as resort charges on their joint card. It all came out during the paper trail Jerry dug up that afternoon. Every cent stolen from the same account I'd once used to buy them their first crib. Rachel's voice was suddenly small. "We just wanted to get ahead, Martin. Everyone does it. You have your pension, your savings." "That pension," I said quietly, "kept food on your table when your husband's first company went bankrupt. My savings covered your temporary credit consolidation. You've been getting ahead for 10 years, Rachel. Just not honestly." She looked away, cheeks flushed with the first hint of shame I'd ever seen on her face. Travis sank into a chair, head in his hands. "So what now?" "Now," I said, turning toward the window. "Now you live with the consequences." That night, I didn't sleep in the house. I drove out to the old RV park on Highway 41, where my trailer still sat beneath a sycamore tree. I hadn't visited in months, but the caretaker kept it clean, fueled, and ready. I stepped inside and felt something close to peace. The linoleum still smelled faintly of Helen's cinnamon candles. My old radio, the one she'd begged me to throw out, still worked. I poured a small glass of whiskey and sat by the window, watching the moonlight catch the rusted edge of the old fence. For the first time in years, I was alone on purpose. The following morning, Jerry called. "They filed a response already," he said. "Their lawyer's trying to claim implied consent due to cohabitation." I laughed. "Implied consent? That's creative." "Don't worry, it won't hold. But they're panicking. Expect some kind of stunt soon." He was right. 2 days later, a man in a suit came to my trailer. Fancy shoes, slick hair, clipboard. He introduced himself as Mr. Colson, representing my son and daughter-in-law. "They'd like to avoid litigation," he said. "Perhaps a private arrangement, a cash settlement." "How much?" I asked. He smiled. "They're willing to offer you $75,000 to release all claims and vacate within 30 days. I couldn't help laughing. It came out harsh and full. "Son," I said, "I paid twice that for this house in 1998, and the only thing I'll vacate is their lie." His smile faltered. "Mr. Brooks, litigation can be unpleasant. Family wounds run deep." "Then they shouldn't have opened one," I said. "Good day, Mr. Colson." He lingered a moment, then handed me his card. "You're making a mistake." I closed the door gently. On the back of his card, I wrote 4 words: "No price on dignity." Then I tore it in half. The next week, the hearing date arrived. November 12, 2024. I wore my old gray suit, the same one from Helen's funeral. Jerry stood beside me as we entered the courthouse, his briefcase heavy with exhibits and affidavits. Rachel sat across the aisle, rigid, her lipstick perfect. Travis wouldn't meet my eye. The judge was an older woman named Martinez, calm and sharp as glass. She flipped through the files, brow furrowing at the forged signatures. "Mr. Brooks," she said finally, looking at me, "did you at any time authorize your son to transfer ownership of this property?" "No, ma'am," I said, "and I have a lifetime's worth of signatures to prove it." Her gavel came down once. "Then I see no ambiguity here. The transfer is void. Ownership remains with the plaintiff, Martin Brooks. The defendant's claim is dismissed pending investigation for document falsification." The room was silent except for the creak of benches. Rachel turned pale. Travis whispered something to her, but she didn't move. Jerry leaned close and whispered, "Congratulations. You just got your house back." I nodded but didn't smile, because it wasn't victory I felt. It was closure, and that weighs differently. Outside the courthouse, Travis caught up with me on the steps. His voice trembled. "Dad, wait." I stopped. He looked 10 years older. "I messed up," he said. "I know I did. I just thought." "Stop thinking," I said quietly. "Start remembering." "Remembering what?" "That once you had a father who trusted you." I walked away before he could answer. That night, I slept better than I had in years. The trailer was quiet. The air smelled like rain. Tomorrow I drive back to the house. Not their house, mine. And when I crossed that threshold again, I planned to leave the door unlocked. Not for them. For the ghosts of what used to be family. They could come and go as they pleased. But they'd never own another piece of me again. The next few weeks settled like sediment in a jar. Everything looked still on the surface. But I knew there was grit in the water. You don't upend family and fraud in a single gavel strike. I moved back into the house on November 14th, 2 days after the hearing. They were already gone. The bedrooms had been emptied, the closets hollowed out. Rachel left behind a scented candle on the bathroom counter, lavender and lemon. The label read calm. The irony choked me. The mortgage draft stopped. No more calendar invites for family dinner or automated grocery lists. No birthday reminders from Rachel's shared iCloud. Just silence. But it was mine. And after everything, silence felt like inheritance. On December 2nd, I received a letter from the district attorney's office. A formal investigation had been opened. Forgery, fraudulent conveyance, and financial elder abuse. It was a cold, official envelope. Unapologetic, unsentimental. But it was justice with a barcode. Jerry called that evening. "They're offering a plea," he said. "Restitution and a 5-year probation period. No jail time unless they reoffend." I listened. "Will it stick?" "Most likely," he said. "But they'll still be fingerprinted, registered in the system. Public record. And the house? Clean. Title's yours. Permanently." I nodded, though he couldn't see. "Good." He hesitated before saying, "Do you want to push harder?" I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the place where Helen's cookie jar used to be. "No, let them live with the stain. That's punishment enough." Christmas came. No tree this year. No visitors. Avery sent a card from Colorado. A real card, with handwriting and a wax seal. She included a Polaroid of herself at her campus library. A quiet smile in her eyes. Inside the card, she wrote, "Grandp, I'm so sorry for what happened. I wish I'd seen it sooner. You always gave more than you got. I hope you're okay. I'll visit soon. I promise. Love, Avery." I placed the card on the mantel where the stockings used to hang. The house echoed with absence. But this absence, at least, was honest. Then came the real showdown. Not in court, not in writing. In aisle 4 of the Fairview Market. It was January 10th. I was picking up canned tomatoes and oatmeal, restocking after the holidays. The cashier, a college kid with gauged ears and a name tag that said Paul Smiling Face with smiling eyes, was humming Auld Lang Syne off-key. And there near the end of the aisle stood Rachel. Faux fur coat, oversized sunglasses, lipstick too red for the season. She was examining Kent olives like they might explode. We locked eyes. Her mouth twitched. A muscle under her cheek fluttered. "Martin," she said finally. Cool, controlled, practiced. "Rachel." Silence stretched between us like old elastic. She blinked behind the sunglasses. "You look well." "I am." A pause. "I suppose you're proud of yourself." "No," I said, "but I am done being ashamed of you." She scoffed softly, turned back to the olives. "You always had a flair for melodrama." I took a step closer. You stole my house, Rachel. My name, my dignity. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, I said. And now you have to live with the fact that it didn't work. Her lips thinned. We've moved on. Good, I said. Then don't look back. She started to say something else, probably something sharp, something rehearsed. But I didn't wait. I turned and walked away. Didn't look back. In early February, Travis sent a letter. Handwritten. It wasn't long. No apology. No excuses. Just 4 lines. Dad, we're staying with Rachel's sister for now. I lost my job in December. We're trying to figure things out. Avery doesn't talk to us anymore. I guess I don't blame her. Travis. No return address. I folded the letter once, then again. Slipped it in the drawer beside Helen's old church bulletins. Some wounds aren't meant to be sutured. But Avery came. In March, she arrived with a blue suitcase, her hair in a messy braid, and a scarf Helen once knitted. She stood on my porch like she had 100 times as a child, shy, uncertain, waiting for permission to belong. I opened the door. You don't need to knock, kid. She smiled. I do now. We made tea, sat on the porch, watched the rain. I'm proud of you, she said. Most people wouldn't have fought back. I nodded. Most people aren't 71 with nothing left to lose. She leaned her head on my shoulder. You've still got me. And somehow in that moment, I believed her. A week later, I revised my will. Avery's name went on the deed. A trust was established. The language was airtight. Jerry made sure of it. I even added a clause. Under no circumstances shall the property be transferred, sold, or leveraged for the benefit of Travis Brooks or Rachel Vance. Jerry raised an eyebrow. That'll raise some eyebrows. Good, I said. Let them rise. The house is quiet again. Sometimes I hear echoes of old arguments, like dust stirred in sunlight. But mostly it's peace, the kind you earn, the kind you bleed for. Final note, epilogue of one man's home. They say justice is blind. Maybe, but mine had my handwriting all over it. They thought they could erase me. Instead, I underlined myself in permanent ink. And I'm still here, still standing, still home. I wake now without dread. Not joy, not giddy happiness. No, those are emotions for the young or the deluded. But the dread is gone, and that's no small thing. The morning light comes in through the east-facing window, just like it used to, before the curtains were replaced with blackout panels Rachel ordered off Amazon to help Dad sleep better. They're gone now. I took them down myself and donated them to the church thrift store. The house breathes differently these days. It creaks in the same places, groans in the floorboards just outside the guest room, hums faintly when the water heater kicks on. But the weight that used to hang in the air like a wet tarp, that's gone. I can sit with a cup of coffee in the morning and hear nothing but the refrigerator's slow defrost cycle and the birds fighting for dominance in the oak tree. That, to me, is the sound of survival. I went through the attic last week, box after box of life deferred. Helen's recipe binders, my father's discharge papers from 1946, Avery's first finger paintings. I found the receipt from when I paid the final mortgage installment in 2003, 20 years ago, $812.56. I remember how proud I felt that day. There was also a folder labeled Travis College Loans, paid in full. That one went straight into the fireplace. Some records deserved to burn. The local paper called. They wanted to cover the story. Elder financial abuse. The legal battle. The victory. I declined. I don't need to be anyone's headline. But I sent the editor a short letter instead. Just 3 sentences. There are thousands like me who won't speak. That doesn't mean we don't see. Some of us eventually will act. She printed that as a sidebar in the Sunday edition. No name attached. Just a local resident, age 74. That's enough. I had the locks changed again last week. Not because I feared anyone coming back. That door's closed. But because I wanted something final. I kept the old key. It's in a shadow box now, mounted above the fireplace with a brass plate underneath. The house that stood. My house. Not a borrowed room. Not a signed-away asset. A home again. Avery visits often now. She brings bread from the campus co-op, frozen soups in mason jars, hand-rolled tea bags with little labels. Last week, she helped me set up a PayPal account for her tuition. Insisted on transparency. No more blind trust, Grandpa, she said, half laughing, half apologizing. Smart girl. Sharp like her grandmother. We play chess sometimes. I win, but only because she lets me. I pretend not to notice. She asked once if I'd ever forgive them. I told her the truth. I'm not carrying hate, sweetheart. But forgiveness is a bridge that costs blood and time. And they haven't paid the toll. She nodded. Didn't press. She understands things most adults miss. I don't need revenge anymore. What I need, already have, a quiet house, a deed in my name, and someone left who still knocks before entering. Today I made chili. The same recipe Helen used every third Thursday. Pinto beans, ground beef, a can of diced tomatoes, brown sugar to cut the acid. The kitchen smelled like memory. I opened the front windows and let the scent drift out. Let the world know someone still lives here. Not survives. Lives. There's a note on the fridge. Avery wrote it in green marker the first week I moved back in. This house is still yours. And so am I. Sometimes I stare at that note longer than I should. Because, in the end, the house wasn't the only thing I reclaimed. Helen used to say, don't wait for peace to knock. You've got to build the porch. So I did. Re-sanded the rail, tightened the hinges, painted it deep red like it used to be before the beige years. And now I sit on that porch every evening, mug in hand, legs crossed, watching the sun drop behind the oak. No ghosts, no lies, no borrowed keys, just wood, wind, and the slow return of peace. If they drive by someday, Travis or Rachel or some lawyer trying to pry open old wounds, they'll see a porch light on, but the door will be locked, and this time the key's mine, forever.